Okay, everyone, this is Melissa, aka Choppas Mama.
Choppa.
So, Melissa and I have been friends for ages. We've been church friends. We went to Trinity together all of our lives, and now we are in the mommy gang together.
Boy, mom.
Yep, and boy
Let's
moms
go.
in particular. Now, you had a really unique birth experience. They've all been just cut and dry and late, but yours was something completely different. I wanted you to talk about that.
Yeah, so Choppa's grand entrance was very, in true fashion, traumatic and in his own style. So the day he was born was the day that the city shut down for COVID and for quarantine.
Oh,
So that in
God.
itself was wild. Just being in the hospital, not alone. I mean, dad was there, but like everything shut
Alone.
down. He was not breathing and was having an irregular heartbeat, so we had to do an emergency C-section. That in itself was crazy. I had a really bad pregnancy.
But I was gonna say, was everything normal up until that point?
Except for like I had HG, which is basically like really bad nausea
Okay.
the entire time. But then yeah, like he just decided to stop breathing and was about to go into fetal distress, and we had like quick,
Right. I'm like, how much time did you have?
like when they say they were about to like bring him on, they're like, no, you have to get emergency section right now. So that was crazy. I remember like throwing up on the table, like what? Because just hearing that and you're already blood pressure and you're like, a baby's coming. They're like, no, we have to get this child
You
out
have to
right
cut
now.
him out.
Crazy. But yeah, so Chopper spent over a month and a half in the NICU after he was born. He had two surgeries on his leg. He had seizures. So it was just a wild first experience. And imagine all that when the city is shutting down
Because
outside
of a
the hospital.
virus.
And they're like, please mask up. Okay, if you have to pump, please go here and then wear a mask. And it was wild. And of course, you're preparing for 9 months to have
Right.
this luxurious birth. And
Exactly. Your
I'm gonna do
birth
this,
plan.
and we're gonna come home and birth plan out the window.
Right.
Like, what? All that stopped, and it's like I can't even have my family here to support me, and I'm sitting here with my child on a
And you
ventilator
need more
for
support
weeks.
than the average. You know,
One
like,
parent at a time.
Yeah.
So it's like we couldn't even rotate. It was crazy. So that in itself was just wild. Yeah, but that's how he made his grand entrance, and that in true form of how he is now. Wild, independent,
Spontaneous.
on his own, do my
Yeah.
own thing, get there when I feel like it. Gotta love him. That's my little baby. But yeah, like it's been crazy. That's my little.
so
secret.
when you were going, like, about to give birth, up until the day that, you had to go in, was everything on up to, like, everything was fine with him? Or was it, that was a super shocker for you?
That was the craziest thing because you don't think like
Yeah.
how the baby's gonna react during labor. And I had been working up until like a week before my anticipated due date.
So
He
you
was
were
about a week
fine,
late, but he was still
yeah.
within normal range. So everything's fine. He's moving around. He's growing.
Wow.
Crazy, and it's literally like I can tell you exact time. So it was a Saturday, and I remember I ate this big dinner, and I was like, he's not moving. That's
That's
weird.
a sign. Yeah.
And by then your mommy intuition's already kicked in.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm like, he's not moving. Okay, let me try moving around, whatever.
Right.
Because I was already in pre-labor. I was already having contractions. And then an hour passed and he still hadn't moved. I'm like, something's up. Let me just go to the hospital. Let me just be sure.
I'm so glad you went in, too.
Let me just be. And my doctor at the time didn't want me to go. So just imagine if I had not just taken my own intuition.
Yeah, as a mom. And just know, because they move so much. If they're not
Right.
moving, they're supposed to move every hour. They're
And
supposed
that's
to
how
have
I had
so
this
many.
big meal, and I'm already walking around like, okay,
Like,
count
that
the
baby should be
contractions.
doing backflips right now.
All right, count the contractions. Keep moving, keep walking. He's not moving at all. Okay, let's just go to the hospital. All right, they check you. They admit you. Like, okay, you're supposed to be induced in like 48 hours. Just going upstairs. The doctor, I'll never forget. They're like, okay, we're about to do the induct. And she looks at this machine over my shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
and I see her looking, and she's doing something, whatever my body, I don't know. And she's like, and I'm like, okay, and I just see all these people rush in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like an audience for me to deliver.
Right? All
Like,
for me?
oh my
No
gosh,
way.
Chopper. They're like, hey, okay, we need you to bend over.
And it
You
got
gotta do this. I'm
serious
like, wait,
fast.
what? Like, you all are giving me the epidural? They're like, no, you're about to go in for emergency C-section right now. Like, whatever she was looking at, it was no activity.
Wow. That's crazy.
And of course, they don't tell you everything because they don't want the mother's blood
Be
pressure to go up
scared.
and crazy. But yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
don't.
wild.
All of my labors were not eventful like that. Thank God. I was so worried for you when I wasn't hearing from you after, like, 'cause,
That's
we're
right.
we're on social media all the time, and
Yeah.
we've been clocking your.
I went ghost.
Yeah.
Like my close friends, including you, my close friends knew when
Yeah.
I went ghost, and they knew it was so close to my due date.
I was like, oh
that
no,
something wasn't right.
Right.
And I'll tell you, like, I was so scared to announce when he arrived because he was having the seizures and they were like, it was touch and go. I remember they called the chaplain up to our room and everything, social worker, social services. And I was like, if he doesn't make it, I don't want people to know when he arrived. But someone that we all love very deeply made the announcement at church out of all places.
Oh boy!
But it was good because at all places they're like, "Hey, we're gonna pray." Like we don't know what's going on, and I was just like, if he doesn't make it, at least it was announced in church at all places.
Okay, not like social media,
right? Not social media, nothing. But it was so crazy because all my friends were like, "We haven't heard from you."
Right. So that's the thing. I was talking about in episode 4, maintaining your relationships while becoming a mom. All of our social media friends and the friends that we're closest with, like having those other people to check on you when things like your patterns are different. Like I post a lot. When I stop posting, people do ask questions and we're right. What's going on? Are you good? Like people will really know. Like, are you have a really big order or something's up? But having those people to check on you when it's not your family or whatever. Necessary because those aren't they might know but they don't know how to ask. They don't even know to watch and make sure like your patterns and stuff.
Support system. And you don't realize it until you become, in my opinion, you don't realize it until you become a mom,
right? And
you realize who's really there, who's not, or who's just somebody like I can only vent to you for certain topics, certain times.
So do you feel like you've made more new friends now since becoming a mom, or are you drawing nearer toward your older friends that have kids or what?
So it depends. I feel like in the midst of this crazy world that we call pandemic life now, I have different categories of friends.
Okay.
I will say lately I've prioritized my mom friends more than others because I feel like we all just have so much more to relate to being stuck in the house with these kids or remote learning, even for toddlers, things like that. That group of friends is just totally different. And then I do have other friends where they may be moms or maybe they're like super mom figures. They're aunts, they're godmoms, they're sisters. And I'm like, hey, I can still rely on you for certain things, but to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And then I have others that aren't moms and you realize, I appreciate you. I love you. We're going to talk about shoes today.
Right. So we're talking about Euphoria,
Yeah, let's talk about this
light.
because I don't want to talk about my child with you because you may not understand why I'm frustrated, why I'm feeling this type of way this day. So
you were like, just tell him to stop.
Or tell me about your life. Let me hear what's going on with you because you don't want to hear about the same thing I have to complain about 24/7.
But it does feel different when somebody asks, how are you doing? And not, how's your child? Like, oh, how's Choppa doing? It's like, dang.
That's the craziest. You know what's crazy? That's the question that's like the least asked, but so valuable. Like, ask me how I'm doing, and then I'll tell you 50 million things about what he did today.
Yeah, because
that's all you really want to know. But ask me how I'm doing, and
just makes me feel warm.
Even if I say I'm having a bad day, but thank you for asking.
Yeah,
he's great. He flipped today. All right.
Right. He busted his head. Yeah, he was proud.
Oh, he definitely busted his head. He's good. He's good.
It's definitely I'm definitely finding myself being closer with my mom friends, which is hard because none of my close friends from high school or anything are moms yet. So I don't feel less close with them, but it's a different relationship and it's a different type of reliance on them. I'm asking you a real question about what do I do when my child is coughing all through the night, and a friend that has twins, she just told me the other day to give them a spoonful of honey over a year. I'm sitting here trying, because they won't take any medicine. We can't really give them medicine till a certain age, but that little tidbit, because you have kids that are older, you've been a mom longer, and have been in the trenches, like that was a really good piece of advice.
A resource.
Yeah.
A true resource.
Yeah, like even it's just a lot of tips that I don't even know, but some moms are not willing to share that those are things that they go through or anything. Like it's just like a surface level, everything's perfect situation. But I like that, like especially with our relationship. You're really telling me when you're having a bad day, Choppa has to go to the doctor. Like I know what that means when you say that he had a doctor's appointment that day because you're a working mom. So how do you do that?
It's like, Jordyn, guess what? Here we go. We got to stop what we're doing to make money and to make a living, to go take care of our child.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I just need to be on the phone with somebody or text, even if it's on the way to the doctor's appointment, on the way back. But yeah, I think that's where I think relationships are truly important because you're a working individual, you're a mom, you're a black woman, which is a whole other topic in itself. I need somebody to understand all these different hats that I wear and how to balance things out. And it is interesting to know that some women do not want to share that experience because you're like, no, I need to know your struggles so I can understand how to get through my struggles. Yeah. We may not have the answers, But
it just feels
we can work it out
seen.
together. And I think that's why our friendship is so valuable, because we're both like, what the
Right. Well, what is
are we
wrong
doing?
with these
Or
kids?
why is this kid doing this today? Man,
Right.
why is he making this noise? Why?
Yeah, like turn it off.
Like,
What
what's
is
going
it?
on? But we're like,
Exactly.
okay, we made it to Tuesday.
Exactly.
Whew.
And that's enough for us sometimes.
That's
Instead
all
of
you
like
need.
people that I think I have conversations with other people and they'll say like, okay, so what are your 5-year plans? It's like I really just am trying to make it
I can tell you
24
what's going on
hours.
Thursday.
Right.
That's about it.
That's as far as I can
That's
go.
it.
But moms do understand, so that definitely feels good.
It does.
So I have another question. When you were growing up, how was your relationship with your grandmother? And do you feel like your child is going to have a different relationship with your mom, or is it going to be the same?
So a lot of people know my grandmother was like my number one person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's from New Orleans.
That's your girl.
Basically, like when my mom was working, she's the one that raised me. Like, my grandmother was my G. Took it real hard, hit depression when she died. Crazy. I knew off bat that my child was not going to have the same type of grandmother grandchild relationship, because that was just a whole different dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Hilda was a whole different league.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but like my mom, she's a different. She's like the edgier side of my grandma, you know. So
Right.
in a good way. But I knew off top, like, all three of us were different. My grandmother, my mom, and me. So I knew that, especially now that there was a boy in the mix,
Right.
that was gonna be different.
That's dope.
So yeah, and I'm glad, because I think knowing that my mom would be a different type of grandmother, I wouldn't want to compare her to my grandmother and then kind of put her like, she's not doing it like that. That wouldn't have been fair.
That's me.
Yeah.
Well, my mom was a stay-at-home mom,
Mm-hmm.
and so your mom working, you already know that you already knew that she wasn't going to be there all the time. My mom was
Right.
there all the time, so when she now suddenly even, are
Mhm.
not there, because now you have a job. She does work now,
Yeah.
running the Double Dutch Club, but I wasn't used to that. So I think I wouldn't have had that expectation for myself had I not seen such a hands-on,
Mhm.
But I think that it does help you be able to not be mad at your mom for things.
Exactly.
Because she's her type of grandma.
She's her type, even down to the name. So
What's she called?
Choppa calls her Gigi.
My mom's
That's-
Gigi,
That's
too.
the Gigi. See, they
So what's that?
got
That's
their own little
is that a
nickname.
new grandma thing?
It is. It's the cooler, edgier,
Grandmas
sexier,
and Gigi's.
Gigi. That's okay. When we become grandmothers, we just call me G. Just call me straight out G.
G
when I become
would
a
be
grandma.
cute. I really want something super old though. Like I want like Nana.
I want to be Big Mama.
See, I want to be Big Mama too. I told Diz said he want to be Papa, and I think Big Mama would be great. Just even if I'm 50, like my mom's 50, so she's like, I'm not a grandma because I'm a Gigi because she's 50. But it's like regardless,
Yeah.
you have a grandchild
Yes.
or 3, so
Right.
you are a grandma.
Yeah.
So I think they try to. With social media, I think a lot of grandmas are realizing what grandmas could be doing in the world.
I think so too.
And not just knitting.
It's so funny because I always tell, like, say if my aunt or my mom's friends call me, I'm like, she's grown, she's living her life, but she also is a Gigi, so
Right.
she may be with her grandchild at the moment. But yeah, I think it's definitely a different dynamic generational wise, and I realized I could not compare myself as a mother to her because it was different.
Yeah.
And she raised me different, and there's some things that I take with a grain of salt, and some things I'm like, I want to do it on my own.
That's what I'm
Same
learning.
way in comparing her to my grandmother. That wouldn't have been fair. Yeah. And I think it comes down more to now as I'm making choices for what I want to do with my child, even down to like what we do for fun time. I'm like, I want to do this with him because it's something I didn't get to experience or something my
Like
mom
what?
exposed me to, and I really appreciate it. So let me see, what's a great example? We went to like the Dr. Seuss exhibit. I love taking my son to exhibits. Everybody knows like I'm a huge fan of Hebrew Brantley. So anytime
Yes.
Flyboy and all this
Your
stuff.
baby
like,
shower.
my baby shower is even a Hebrew theme. So any type of like art exhibit or something interactive, I love to take him to.
He gets to experience.
Get to experience it. I'm like, he's a child. Like, touch things, run around,
Scream.
explore things. Scream.
Yeah.
Please go scream over there.
Right.
Have a great time.
Yeah.
Not to say I wasn't allowed to do things like that, but that's just something I purposely planned.
Intentional about it.
On a weekly basis for him. So, going on trips, even in the midst of COVID, like, okay, we're going to get out of the city and do something different, do something new. I want to make sure he has that exposure.
That's so nice.
And be around other kids and be able to explore outside. Because, yeah, at the end of the day, these are young black human beings,
Yeah.
males, that we have to prepare for the world. And this world is not nice to them. So at least he'll be able to say, my mom exposed me to so much and I had so much fun. I learned about this, I learned about that. So
I think that that's really important, just to have the forethought that kids are going to look back on their childhood and look at the fun things that you did with them. Yeah. And now we have all the pictures, we have the videos, we got the reels.
Like, so imagine how much stuff our moms did with us that we never got.
Yeah, you don't have the footage. Exactly.
That's the part I'm like, wow.
Yeah, there's probably so many things that we did do and they can't clock the days. And my mom's probably like, we did all these things. Right. But if I don't see it, we ain't do it. I
want my son to have memories, not just like storytelling, but like be able to put a picture with it one day. I may be long gone and people like, that's really picture important. My mom made at the zoo, and I'm like, that's good. Like,
that's why I love family photos. I think that's one of the things that I love. Yeah. I just think that it's really important, as fake and phony as they feel while we do them.
Okay.
Because it does feel terrible. Yeah, like the smile that y'all got is the only one we got all day.
Listen.
But like you, for example, when you send me pictures of Chopper, you're like, you'll send me the really cute one, and then you're like, this is all 17 of the ones that we had before this.
Like, you want to see the unedited photos?
Right. The unedited experience, you know.
Because it's worth it in the end.
Yeah.
It is.
Just being able to show our resilience with all the, I feel like the transparency that this podcast and just social media can bring. I feel like I want to take advantage of it because I don't want people just to think everything is all peachy. Yeah. It gives a really unrealistic.
And I'll be honest, like this motherhood, even though I'm still early in the game, like I'm trying to catch up to you. It's real because I think social media, as crazy as it is, at least we're exposing like it's not always as perfect as you see. Once we post that photo, that means I put a filter on there, I've edited it down, I picked the best one. But we have this platform to talk with fellow moms, fellow mom figures, and like, all right, remember that dirty time or that really ugly time? Let's talk about it, let's break it down, let's figure out what we can do so that if it happens again, or when it happens again, keep it 100. Yeah. Like we know how to be successful and make sure like it doesn't affect our children in a negative way. Yeah. And our parents may not have had that type of outlet because they were always trying to keep up with who's going on across the street or somebody else's family.
And what people are going to think. And that's like, I'm always, I think I was more afraid of the vulnerability and just how people are going to take me saying that I don't want to have kids some days, and I'm mad that I had kids, and I'm just like, this really jagged my life. I feel like that some days, but literally not most days I'm fine. It really is just during a tantrum, and it's like, why would I do this? But is that not how everybody feels?
I mean, and honestly, that's how I felt even with like my postpartum anxiety. I'm like, I have an outlet to talk about that now, and I think about so many other mothers before me. I'm like, they didn't have somebody to talk to, or like,
it feels selfish to hold all this information and power inside. Like, we know things now. I want to be a resource to people
had this been before I had a child, I probably would never have talked about like postpartum anxiety or like how I truly felt with his whole birth experience after coming up with this plan, or even down to like the co-parenting situation right now. I would have never talked about that, but now like, oh wait, I'm not the only one in this boat. Oh girl, let me tell you.
Exactly.
Whew, okay.
Right, me too.
Crazy as it is, but let me talk about it because that's therapy these days. Like, I'm glad that therapy is being an open topic for so many people because it's so valuable. So people just thinking now, scared. Like, that's the generational difference. And I mean, it's hard for some older generations to accept that, but I think it's only going to make us stronger as mothers.
I think as our parents see us go through therapy and see us on the other side of it, they'll be more willing to do it and embrace it more, because I think therapy is so associated with the struggle and not with the end result. Like, we don't necessarily know what the end result is. It's reactive
and not proactive.
Yes.
And I'm like, I just need somebody to talk to one day just to vent, or at least say, like, I'm going to watch the kids so you can have a mommy day.
That's like even when somebody offers that and doesn't come through, like if I cancel, I just like even the 5 minutes I felt like you were about to come in, like I was just, it's such a great feeling.
That thought alone lets me know, like, you understand that I may not be in the best state of mind right now, and you understand that my child still comes first, but you're looking out for my well-being, because he's not going to be well if I'm not well.
Right.
So that's the great part about, I think, our generation, our experience right now as the pandemic parents, as dope as we are, that we are able to acknowledge and point out what the issues are, the triggers, the stressors, and
trying to come up with solutions.
And we know that there are specific people to support us, and not just relying on anybody.
Right.
So that's the dope part. And I'm glad that you have this podcast, because like a lot of women are now going to be able to identify where they need help or just need somebody to listen.
Because I know I'm identifying where I need help, and I didn't even know, me sitting here and just talking, I'm like, okay, I need to solve this problem for myself. So it does feel like therapy, and making myself, putting myself out there, making myself like vulnerable. It'll help you feel like you can come to me and talk to me because you just heard that I was dealing with the same thing. So I definitely like creating this space for us. I only experienced being a single mom for a very short period of time. And so another thing I want to make sure I do is bring on moms that have different experiences than myself, because I really don't know what your unique struggles are, just because like I'm struggling and I have no clue how I would do it if Des wasn't here. Like all the complaints, I just really think I'll fall over and die. And since you haven't, I'm curious to know what is keeping you going, like as a single mom, like what is it like for you?
Let's see, single motherhood. Honestly, it's dope. Let's keep on 100. My mom was a single parent for the majority of my upbringing. So I think my strength comes from seeing her and knowing like my kid will turn out just fine.
Okay.
No, but yeah, like some days I have to admit, like it is hard as hell, and I'm censoring myself a lot. It's hard,
Yeah.
but it's still cool because it's like I know not only am I like his provider of life, but when things are good, when things are bad, he's running like, Mom,
Right.
Mom. I'm like, what's up, Chop? Like, what's going on?
Y'all have a
the good,
special
the bad.
relationship.
Yeah, like I feel like our bond is stronger now. So I know there is a lot of like cliche negativity around being a single mom, or that whole relationship between like baby mom, baby daddy. We don't use those terms. So
Right.
it's like, but it's dope. And I mean, especially being a black woman, like to know I'm his provider, not only in life but like in all things. Like I birthed this superhero.
Right.
That's the dopest thing in the world. So yeah, it's tough, but
it's such a good perspective to have. So are you guys co-parenting, or are you just really taking on the majority of the responsibilities yourself and learning how to do that?
Choppa has a father.
Okay. Well, then that's
Shout
good.
out to that.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm the
one.
The primary caregiver of this human being. And like I said, like I have a great support system.
Okay.
I will say that.
Your village.
A great village.
Okay.
In terms of when stuff really gets tough or things that I don't realize, like, hey, he needs a male figure to do X, Y, Z, then they're there. You know, that's cool. So, yeah, that's...
You're definitely glass half full with it.
Exactly.
So
it will get better. Our co-parenting relationship will get better. I'm putting that out into the world. Yeah.
I love that. I think that that's really important. The whole village, you having a village to step in at any given time, and you knowing that, right, any given time. Yeah, it's hard for them to be there as much as they could be because of COVID, and because, I think that it's just, there's too many question marks with kids, too many ways that we parent, like the generational thing where there's, you sending your kids to different people's houses. How are they going to discipline your kids? What do you do when you are faced with that type of situation?
I think, so I will say this, in being a mom, like your protective intuition kicks in before they even come to this side of the world. So you do get kind of like caught up in like, okay, who's going to watch my child? Do I want to burden them with my child? Right. And then in my situation, like my son had some health concerns. So it was like, okay, if he's okay with medicine, with diet, is he going to sleep okay? Do they know how to take care of his wound? Okay, let me just step back. Let me think about who I trust in my child, like with my most prized possession. These degrees and titles don't mean anything compared to my son. Yeah. So, COVID has played a huge role in this journey. Yeah. But I think, like we were saying, like certain people in your village that can understand whether it is like, okay, they are a mom as well, or they at least understand certain care, or can at least respect the rules and the regulations. He needs this, he needs that. He's only 2 years old. You can appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah. Do you practice any type of positive parenting, or are we just roughing it? We just doing what we got to do?
Oh, Jesus. Some days there is positive parenting, and some days there's positive children on his end. Does it happen?
Are not being positive.
He's not always positive, but I will say this. Choppa has taught me so much patience, and I'm not a very patient person. Yeah. But he has taught me so much patience, because some days I have to realize you don't know XYZ because you haven't experienced that yet. Exactly. Who's style, Melissa? Right. Okay, let's figure this out from a 2-year-old perspective, because you haven't experienced this part of life yet to know right from wrong. Right. So this is a teachable moment for both of us. So I have to stop and pause and, okay, let me sit down on the floor with you and explain to you why this is not that. And I talk to my child like he is literally the same 30-year-old human, just like me. And I realized that has brought so much more understanding in our relationship, even in this young age. So, it's some days I'm like,
it's the tone. I think the tone of voice that you talk to the kids in, and then if you build that understanding, they know that they can come to you. You're only doing things to help them.
Yep.
If that's a general theme, then being disciplined, you're like, okay, well, she must be doing this to help me. You're going to think that across the board. It's not just like you're just punishing a kid or just being strict for no reason. But if you just talk to them like we're not doing that, they'll understand like, oh, that's just not what we're doing.
I don't want my child to get older in years when he's a teenager and think like, oh, she's going to be mad at me if I do this. I'm going to be like, hey, Mom, I came with a mistake.
Exactly.
I need to talk to you about the situation. Because I want to keep it real with my child, keep it real with myself.
Yeah. Because our expectations, they set us up for failure. Often, like with motherhood, I think my biggest thing was I set myself up thinking that I was going to be this type of mom. Did you have that, like an interpretation of a mom that you were going to be?
Isn't it crazy how we had so many rules and expectations?
Yeah.
And then these kids came and threw all that shit out the window.
I was like, my kids are never going to wear light up shoes. You feel me? But they wear whatever. Like, I was like, I don't like dinosaurs on surfboards. I hate characters. They wear whatever they want.
Is it clean? Does it fit?
Is it clean is the only thing. Not even if it fits. The babies be having Dallas' shirts on. Y'all got a jersey dress on today, baby, because I can't. I'm tired.
And let's be honest. Because we're in the midst of COVID, I'm like, we're not even going outside.
Who
so
cares?
Why am I getting you fully dressed from head to toe when you're about to take off a sock?
Exactly.
Run around with half a sleeve through your shirt.
Right.
Whatever.
It's ridiculous.
Are you safe? Are you happy? Are you healthy?
Exactly.
You got a full stomach? You had a great nap? I've done my job.
I've done my job.
Today. And I have to take a pinch of grace for myself and realize every time I'm stressing out, what are you really stressing out about? Is it that serious? Is he happy? Is he healthy? Is he safe?
It's a good reminder. It's a good mantra.
Have I set boundaries for other people to respect my prominence as his mother and his independence as a growing human being?
Mm-hmm.
And I've done my job for the day. Get your wine, go to bed, and let's try this again tomorrow.
I'll try again tomorrow.
And that's it.
All right.
That's it.
All right. That's wise words from Mama Melissa.
Yes. And stepdaddy season is always in full effect. So
Stepdaddy season.
the door will never be shut on opportunities.
Put y'all applications in. All right.